Running 100 miles seems impossible, and maybe even kind of crazy. And it is, but we believe in big crazy dreams. That's why we ran 100 miles. It was such a life-changing experience for us, we decided to devote this podcast to preparing and inspiring you to run your first ultra race.
Are you ready to feel the highest highs and the lowest lows? Are you ready to do what you once thought was impossible? Are you ready for your trail to 100? Thank you for joining us here on Trail to 100, the podcast made to help you finish your first 100-mile race. My name is Jacob Bateman, and joined along with me is my beautiful, lovely wife, Melody.
Hello.
And today we are moving on to pillar number 5. Wow, already to Friday this week.
Which is
Drum roll. Recovery.
Yay.
That's right. This is one, if you're brand new, you don't think about a lot.
No, I don't realize how freaking important it is. That's why we decided to make it a whole pillar.
You know what made me
Use my language.
really decide that this was a essential part of ultra running was when we interviewed the ultra running guys. Go back, listen to that podcast. Great dudes, a lot of good insights. Jeremy shared, say you can't overtrain, but you can under recover.
I like that.
Yeah, and that quote really stuck with me, and that really shows, recovery is that big of a thing. Like, if you are not putting emphasis on recovering these long 20-mile runs, plus doing strength training, plus mobility and stretching work, you would need to recover from that. And if you're not putting emphasis on that, your body will flame out on you.
Your body and your mind. Recovery is important for both.
Yes. So to me, that shows us why we need it. You have to have recovery in order, especially when you're building up those miles and you're in peak weeks. You have to.
Well, because to build up muscle, you need to break it down first and let it heal. If you never let it heal, then all you're doing is breaking down the muscle over again until you're broken.
Yes. And that'd be great mental toughness training, but that can't last so long. Trust me, we've experienced it.
Oh, yeah.
So what are the factors that affect proper recovery, Melody?
I'm going to say sleep is the most important one, and one that a lot of us neglect. Nutrition is a huge piece. This is something that I feel like me and you both have really learned recently. And stress management is another really big factor.
Yeah, I think those are 3 golden things to pay attention to, that you need to be paying attention to when you're training for a 100-mile race. And
these things are critical, guys.
Yeah. So let's go into the 3 things a little bit. So sleep. Sleep is such a tricky one because you also have to wake up earlier to get all that training in.
I mean, that's the story we hear.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, but yeah, a lot of people do sacrifice their sleep so they can get up at 3 or 4 before work to get their workout in. So this is really tricky. What I teach is never sacrifice sleep for a workout. And if you have to choose, say it was a crazy day, if you have to choose between staying up to get your workout in or getting full 8 hours of sleep, always choose 8 hours of sleep.
I wouldn't say always.
Yeah, okay, there are some times if the point of your workout is mental toughness. Yeah.
And you got to have some mental toughness.
That's true. You're right. If you're in peak week, sometimes sacrifice a little bit of sleep, but generally sleep comes first. Now, I'm trying to decide, what would I say to someone who that is literally the only time they have to run?
Yeah, because they got kids. The kids are in doing like events or sports in the evening, so their evenings are taken up. And if they have kids, their kids are probably keeping them up at night. So like sleep is just hard. It's hard to get that consistent 8-hour time period set aside.
I have a few thoughts. My first thought is look at your schedule. Is there anything else that you can get rid of in your schedule besides your sleep? Any commitments that you can get rid of? Or are there any times during the day where you can
Power nap.
take a power nap? Can you take a power nap at lunch? Or can you do a workout at lunch and so you can sleep in 30 minutes and get your full 8 hours of sleep?
Yeah. I just like to think of it. Yeah. I mean, it's only you know your schedule and how to work around it, right? Everyone's schedule is different, but I just look at sleep as with recovery, you have to just make sleep a priority.
Especially when you're training for 100
Yeah.
miles.
So the little things, I'm not great at this, but I know it would help if I did better at this. Like putting your phone when you go to bed at night, don't have your phone next to you, you know?
Yeah.
And so that way you're not distracted by playing on a game or looking
Your
at,
melatonin's not suppressed.
yeah, it does suppress your melatonin and you can just focus on going to sleep. So like in that time, so I'm just going to say what time you do have to sleep, make sure you maximize that and you're not, messing around with your phone or anything else. And you are saying, this is my sleep time. It is only 5 hours tonight. I'm not going to waste 15, 20 minutes of that playing on my phone as I lie in bed.
Make sure that if it really is
Sleep
5
is,
hours, that it's good quality
yes,
sleep.
sleep is sleep, not anything else.
For sure. I have had some sleep issues, and a couple years ago when I went to talk to my doctor about sleep, he gave me a few resources. He gave me a sleep journal and gave me it's like a sheet with good sleep hygiene. I'm going to include that in the show notes and you can go to sleep hygiene. You can print out a sleep journal if you want to keep track of when you go to bed, when you wake up, and what's affecting your quality of sleep.
But sleep is one of the biggest factors in helping your body recover. It's when those muscles can start to hit themselves and your body needs that refresher. And it's basically, that I look at sleep now as recovery time, so
It is.
when you go to sleep, you are training, you are recovering, you need that.
I really want to find a sleep expert to get on the podcast who can really dive into the importance of it.
That is on the list. Sleep expert will be coming, guys.
If any of you know a sleep expert, please send them our way.
Yes. Okay. Now, the second thing you listed, was it
Nutrition.
nutrition?
Yes. Go back and listen to our nutrition episodes.
Yes.
But long story short, make sure that you're eating enough and make sure that you're getting protein. And as you start training for 100 and increasing the load, make sure you are drinking more water and eating even more protein.
Yes. Okay, so here's something that I heard the other day. Mike McKnight's got a video podcast called Primal, where it's about all things primal. It's pretty cool. And he does it with another guy who's into his lifestyle and way of eating. And they had Jeff Browning on, and they were talking about recovery after Cocodona 250. And Jeff Browning ran the Sedona 125. And Mike said this a couple times on this podcast. He says, you are never more tempted to binge and eat really crappy than after a long run, right?
That's true. Unless you eat right on the long run.
Yes, but still, even if you ate right, you still I just a frazzle slushy, whatever.
Frazzle slushy. What is that?
Valdi hasn't been indoctrinated to the world of frazzle. It's a really good slushy that they sell at gas stations. Or I deserve this giant cookie. Ran 20 miles today. I can spare the calories for this cookie.
True.
And
I'm more like a giant burrito. That's
or I drink this Dr. Pepper. I ran 20 miles. This will give me some energy to get through the rest of the day. But in reality, Mike was sharing, we put in these garbage calories into our system right after a long run, he says it postpones our recovery. He says the most point where we need to be dialed in on our nutrition is right after your runs, especially your long runs. Get that protein in and get good foods. Eat berries, get a full meal, like meat, vegetables, fruits. Get in.
That's a good point. That's when your body needs it more than ever.
Don't binge 5 brownies.
Oh, but it's fun.
It is
That's
so
fun.
fun.
Okay, we'll reserve for holiday and birthdays.
Yeah, but Mike was saying, like, if you are really pushing your body and you want to expedite your recovery, you really have to look at what you're eating after your workouts.
Can I throw a tip in there that I learned recently along these lines? When I find myself craving a cookie or brownie or something unhealthy, I've learned that it's usually because I'm hungry. So if I eat something, if I'm craving something, but I eat something healthy instead, to usually a full meal, then I'm craving that thing.
And what I shared this few weeks ago in our newsletter about the brownie little protein shake, the chocolate protein shake that I make, and how if I'm really craving something after my run, I've noticed, especially if I'm like, I want sugar, then I'll make that, and it's much more healthy and way better for recovery. And when I make that and drink that, that craving most of the time goes away.
Yeah, so think of like a healthy alternative. Jacob and I have this brownie recipe. It's a quote unquote healthy brownie recipe, all organic ingredients. We use maple syrup instead of sugar. It still is really carby, really sugary, but it's a little bit better than a real brownie.
Yeah.
So if any
better
other
than the processed brownies.
Yeah.
So what you eat affects your recovery.
Oh yeah.
So we have to pay attention to that.
For sure.
Now,
yay, I love this topic. I don't know. I was just about to say, I don't know why I'm so passionate about this, but probably because I'm a very stressed, anxious human.
Yeah.
So I can relate to all of you stressed, anxious people out there. Here's the thing. Stress plays a huge role in recovery. Your body doesn't know the difference between running stress versus work stress or family stress or family drama. It's just stress. And the more, also not eating enough, that is stress on your body and produces more cortisol. If your body is stressed all the time and you're in this constant fight or flight, that's going to drain you. And we all know the negative of having constant high cortisol levels. So it's important that you are back and analyzing all of your life stressors. And I want to throw this in here, that there's a time and a season for everything. Sometimes you're just in a season of life. And I bring this up because this is what's on our mind. Like when you first have a kid, you have a new baby at home. That's, from people told us, that's a very stressful time of life. If there's, let's say, in your phase of life like that, that's probably the best time to be training for a 100-mile race. Sometimes there's stressors in your life that you can't really eliminate. And in those phases of life, the best thing to do is to maintain your fitness, to work through those stressors, and wait until you get to a point in your life where you can physically and mentally handle a 100-mile race.
I halfway agree with you on that.
I know that you're going to give me pushback for this. And
because there's never a perfect time to train.
No, the thing here is you have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, there's never a perfect time to do it.
Don't use it as an excuse. But be realistic.
Okay, let me give you something. Okay, a situation that I faced. So the U100 wasn't the first 100 that I signed up for. I signed up for the Pony Express 100 right after we did our 50-mile race, because I was high off that 50. I was like, look at all this fitness, I want to go for 100 now.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really thinking through the commitments that I had at that time. And I was working a full-time job, and then I was working a part-time job, but it was very like come and go, helping renovate apartment family. And I there was like 5 apartments that were opening up at once and they all need renovated. And I'm the main guy who does the renovations. And that all happened during what would be, training for this 100-mile race that I had signed up for. And that's a point where I had to realize, like, okay, because I'm basically working 2 full-time jobs here. You know, am I really going to train for a 100-mile race right
See,
now?
and that's what I'm saying, is you just have to be realistic
Yeah.
about it, because training for 100 miles does take a lot of time.
And because then also I would, if I were training for 100, I'd be sacrificing a lot of sleep. I'd be working a physically taxing job. Like the recovery would not have been there at all had I gone forward. And at that point, I decided, you know what, my priority right now is work and getting these apartments renovated and done. And I was just like, the 100's gonna have to wait till next year.
See, that's okay. But if the 100 is never a priority in your life, then you're never going to get around to it.
Yes.
Eventually you have to decide, okay, this year, this is a priority.
But yeah, and I knew that
Yeah,
I knew that second job was a temporary thing. The hours that I'd be working there was temporary. So pick a time where, and then it actually did happen where during 100, I warned my boss with that second job beforehand, I'm not going to be as available.
right.
And I did, I still went and did what I could, but I told him, and hey, for these months, I'm not going to be as available because I'm going to be spent, because I worked there a lot of Saturdays. I'm like, Saturdays are going to be a long run day. I'm not going to be as available. So
Exactly.
you got to prioritize.
Right.
And you got to prioritize recovery, getting back. Yeah. So,
exactly.
So stress, like, yeah, if you are constantly stressed, your body is not going to really recover, not the way it's supposed to.
Something that I would recommend throwing into your routine, I am really passionate about yoga, because not only are you working mobility and flexibility generally, but it also, you're working on, your mindset, slowing down, breath work. I think meditation is really, really great too. I personally have a super hard time with meditation. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that, but sitting down and not moving and not thinking about anything, like saying these words, is giving me anxiety now. So I love yoga because it's meditation, but with movement, and you're focusing on your body. And I always feel this like decrease in anxiety after a 15-minute yoga session. And if that's all you can throw in, if you can just give yourself, 5 to 15 a day to just unwind, relax, get the cortisol down, that is going to be tremendously helpful.
All right. So I got a scenario here for you, and I want to hear your opinion on it, and then I'll tell you my opinion after.
Okay, go.
So there's the whole overtraining concept, or as Jeremy taught us, the under recovering concept. How do I know when I'm under recovering?
First of all, if you're really new and you are still building this relationship with your body, I would recommend getting a coach who can help you figure that out and tell you when to rest and when to train.
It's hard to figure out.
It is. It takes time.
Yeah, if you're new, you don't know if this is just normal aches and pains, normal fatigue, or if it's,
Because
you're
thing
right.
is, you are going to be hurt. You are going to be hurting.
You are going to be fatigued.
Yes, especially during base training, when you're like quickly ramping up your mileage, you're probably going to be a little bit tired all the time. You're going to have to do runs on tired legs, and that's just a part of the training. You need to, honestly, it just takes time to
learning how to listen to your body.
Listen to your body.
What are signs for you, Melody, that you are under recovering?
For me, it's a lot of mental stuff, actually. So when I start to feel extra irritable, when I'm not sleeping very well, when running is not enjoyable anymore, when my stress and anxiety is higher, those are my signs that I need to slow down. Also, another sign is when you start to feel like you're on the brink of an injury, or maybe there's this niggle that's getting worse, and you can kind of tell like, oh, it feels like I'm about to break. The body doesn't feel stable right now. I think that's another sign that you probably need to let your body heal a little bit.
So for me, I just recently had an experience with this as I ran in this training cycle for my 100-mile race. I've been running more miles than normal. And so I had a week where I did 58 miles, and part of that 58 was a 50K. And then the next week following that, I did 64 miles with 15,000 feet of vert. And that whole week, that 64-mile week, that whole week, every run, and it was runs of like, 8 miles, 10 miles, 8 miles, 9 miles, and then like a 20 miler at the end. Every run just felt so hard. It felt like I was giving all my effort, but I was going so slow. And
That's
my
a good way to
and
put
my
it. Yeah.
heart was just bumping. Like I'd start running and I would immediately just be like, oh no. Like I would just, my body, everything on my body was just saying, no, like don't do this.
I could see it in your face too. Every morning you woke up, it
Yeah.
was like you were kind of drunk.
Yes. Because I felt like I knew, I was like, I haven't recovered from that 50K. I just knew it. That first run on Monday when I set out for, it was like 7 miles, I think that day. I was like, immediately knew this is gonna be a long run. I am not recovered.
See, that it's totally appropriate to cut the run short or to just say, I'm not going to run
Yeah.
today.
And so, but I didn't. I pushed through that whole week.
And sometimes that is good for mental
And yeah, and I
toughness.
think it was really good for me to just learn how to run on a really tired body.
For
You
sure.
do need to get those.
See, it's like the right balance.
But here's the thing. The next week I had scheduled to run 70 miles. So even more running than the next
And you
week.
hadn't fully recovered yet.
Yeah, and I still hadn't recovered from my 50K. And that's when I made, so I just bought a training plan from a coach, and that's when I made an executive decision. I made the decision, I'm cutting back this week, because I set out on that next week, that Monday run, and it was the same everything. The body was just screaming at me no, and I was going so slow, but even at that slow pace, I was giving everything I had. And so I made an executive decision, and I took an easy week and did like 44 miles that week, which was easier compared to, obviously 70. And then the following week, I felt good again. And I was able to just jump right back into my plan. And I was been able to keep it basically perfect since then.
Ooh.
And so it just I took a couple days off, but I still moved. I walked, I did a lot of stretching, I did some strength training, you know, but I just let my body finally recover, and then I was able to get right back into it. Had I not been experienced though, and this has been my first year of ultra running, I probably would have just kept pushing and pushing, and it probably would have led to injury.
For sure. That is the perfect example. And I have to point this out is that your recovery week was still 44 miles. Recovery doesn't mean doing nothing. Sometimes it does, but most of the time, active
Yeah.
recovery is key.
One of those days I was so fed up, like I was like, I'm not running today. I'm so done with it.
And sometimes I think that's more of a mental thing.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just have to give your brain a break.
Mental recovery. And I just like that day I just stretched for an hour.
See, but
And
you still move.
yeah.
That's great.
And that felt so good though. I was just like I just like was so done with running, and it's because my body needed that break. Yeah.
Exactly. Most of the time, active recovery is key. So that means maybe some options for active recovery would, cross training. You can go back and listen to our second episode where we talk a little bit about cross training, or just running slower, or maybe walking instead of running, or maybe, like Jacob said, all you do is stretch. And then, of course, occasionally giving yourself just a full day off where you don't do anything, because I think that's important too.
Okay, so before we finish this up on recovery, I wanted to run just a few like technical things by you and see like your thoughts on if these are things that can help expedite recovery.
Yeah.
So like getting a massage. Is that something, if I had the means to do that, is that something that helps expedite recovery?
Yes. Okay. So this is my personal opinion. I'm a little bit biased
And
as a massage therapist, but even before I was a massage therapist, massage has always been my favorite thing. And as a very high stress, anxious person, there's not very many things in the world that can get my stress levels down, but a massage, I feel all of my worries disappear. And oh my gosh,
so it's both a mental and physical recovery
yeah,
for you.
for me personally, I feel like it's more of a mental recovery,
Okay.
a whole hour to 2 hours of just pure relaxation. There's not For most of these things, there really is not a lot of like scientific evidence this stuff does anything, but there's a ton of anecdotal evidence that this stuff is helpful. If you can get a massage once a week, do it.
All right. What about ice baths?
Ice baths is a little bit more tricky. Ice baths are definitely not everybody's forte. Ice baths, I think, are great for mental toughness. They're a little bit fun. I think an ice bath can actually, in some cases, slow down your recovery because it's slowing down the natural healing process which is inflammation. When you're hurt, there's inflammation, swelling, and that is part of the natural healing process. And if you slow that down, it could actually slow your recovery down. But if you've ever taken an ice bath before, you feel great afterwards. So I would say throw an ice baths when you're feeling really sore, really fatigued, and now you have a really big workout the next day. I think that's a good time to throw in an ice bath. But I definitely wouldn't do an ice bath like consistently.
What about like saunas, warm bath or that sort of thing?
Yeah, as long as you're staying hydrated and you're drinking lots of water, I think that's a great way to relax physically, mentally. And it's also saunas, hot tubs, steam rooms, especially saunas and hot tubs. That's a great way to heat train as well.
Acupuncture.
Honestly, I don't know a lot about
Yeah.
acupuncture. I did acupuncture once. My chiropractor was like, "This is gonna take your anxiety away," and I did it, and I was like, "It was nice to lay down in that dark room and take a nap,
Yeah, I've
but I
done.
don't really feel different."
I'm actually gonna go get acupuncture on Tuesday, a
Oh,
few
you
days
are?
before my
Oh,
race.
that's smart.
I did it last year as well. So that
Yeah.
that leads me into the chiropractor thing. Does that help? Like go and get your body adjusted?
See, I don't know. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Honestly, I have no science behind any of this, but I do it.
I
I
know
I
you love
like
the
it. I
chiropractor.
love it, and I actually so I especially leading up to a race, I like to go to a chiropractor to get my body adjusted a couple times, like the 2 weeks before the race, before I do my 100, because I just feel better. I don't know. And my chiropractor said when I went in this last week, and he said, like your joints with all that running can get a little jammed up and thrown off. And he could tell that like my right leg was shorter than my left leg. And he said, yeah, with all that running, you're getting thrown off. So
Hmm.
anyways,
Okay, I wanna give you my opinion on chiropractors here.
yes.
So I will say this, when I have gone to a chiropractor, I do feel amazing afterwards.
Yep.
Before I started seeing a chiropractor, I was terrified because during my clinical rotations when I was in PTA school, I worked with a patient who had been paralyzed from their chiropractor. And they're getting a neck adjustment and they were paralyzed from the neck down. So that scared the crap out of me. But then I started working for a chiropractor and he gave me free adjustments. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this. And I got really bad whiplash in a car accident like 5, 6 years ago. And I always have neck pain. And he adjusted my neck. And that was the first thing that took my neck pain away. I've tried everything, physical therapy, yoga, and oh, it feels amazing. And then I hopped on TikTok the other day and all of a sudden I was on this like chiropractor horror stories side of TikTok. All these people who got paralyzed, and now I'm terrified again. So yeah, I don't know. Chiropractors, it feels great, but they scare me a little bit. And also, I think if you go to a chiropractor, it needs to be paired with physical therapy.
Strengthening the
And
area.
yeah, you need to be doing more than just getting adjusted.
Yeah, for sure. So I like to institute it if I'm just kind of feeling like my body's a little bit off. I like to go to a chiropractor.
I can see that.
And before a race, just to make sure everything's lined up,
I get
all
that.
systems are go. Anyway, so massage guns is if your body's like feeling really tight, is it good to like get a massage gun and bang it around there?
I think a massage gun is great.
That helps recovery.
Again, all of this stuff, there's not like scientific evidence, but we have a massage gun. We actually don't use it a whole bunch, but
we don't.
Maybe we
I know
should.
Mike McKnight, he takes his massage gun stuff as races, guys. I know we talk about Mike McKnight a lot. He's
Can you tell we follow
basically our ultra running hero.
It's Mike McKnight and Sally McRae and David Goggins.
Yeah,
those are who we follow.
Those are the three we follow. Yeah, in all his races, he brings a massage gun, and he's always really like going at his IT band and things during his race to try to keep it loose.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a great idea. I think it does the same thing like physiologically, whatever, as foam rolling does. It kind of breaks up the fascia. You can work out some of the adhesions and things. It feels really good. I feel like with the massage gun, you can get into like little nooks and crannies too that are hard to reach with a foam roller. I think it's a great idea. I've seen a lot of runners, they bring foam roller with them on their long runs, and they do the massage gun right after their long run.
And they foam roll.
Did I say foam roller?
Yeah.
Okay, so pregnancy brain. They bring the massage gun on their long run. Sorry, and they massage gun themselves right after their long run.
But that brings up my last question. Foam rolling.
I am huge on foam rolling. This is something that I do consistently. I think foam rolling before run is great to get everything loose. Foam rolling after run, that actually has been scientifically proven to decrease DOMS or delayed onset muscle soreness, right?
So that is a great way to recover after your run. Foam roll.
Yeah, do a full body foam roller. Yeah, it's cheap, super easy. There's tons of tutorials on YouTube. I have a few tutorials on my Instagram page too, and on my website, and it's great. Foam roll.
Like Jeremy Adkins, former guest of the podcast, said after his 100, he went and foam rolled. And he said he felt like his recovery really benefited because he foam rolled and stretched for 30 minutes after his 100. Discipline and recovery being put into use right there.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. It's also really helpful to do before a good stretch/mobility session to get everything loosened up.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for the 5th pillar, Melody.
Yeah, I think that's a good start on recovery. And as we've done these episodes, I'm like, I have so many more questions. Yeah. I'm so excited to get other coaches on and to dive even deeper into these topics.
Guys. We are just touching the surface on these topics with the two of us because we are going to get really good experts. We already interviewed a coach about mobility, and that's going to be released.
Guys, that episode is golden.
Yeah, she had just some golden advice about how to implement mobility and why you need to implement mobility. That's going
to be great. And tomorrow, we actually did interview a coach because we'll just tell you now, it's gear. The next pillar is gear, which we honestly don't know a ton about. So we got an expert on, and he's going to tell us all about it. It's a great episode.
He really went over all the essentials of
everything you need for a 100-mile race.
All the gear that you need to successfully complete 100. Yeah. So be looking for that to drop tomorrow for your Saturday long run, and we will talk to you all next time.
Hey guys, it's Melody here. Thank you so much for listening to Trail. It means so much to us. I'm really excited to tell you about my coaching business, where I help average Joes who are looking for a little bit more out of life do something big to find a little bit more purpose, direction, and meaning. Learn more on my Instagram at the Pine Tree Runner or on my website, melodybateman.biz. Links are in the show notes. I know what it's like to feel stagnant or like something's missing or like you just want more out of life. I was in the same spot. Jacob and I had just gotten married and we were both working 9-to-5 jobs, and we just were like, what do we do now? We just wanted something more, and we listened to David Goggins' book, and we decided to sign up for a 50-mile race. And since then, we've done 50s, Jacob's done a couple hundreds, I've done 100, and running has changed our lives. I feel like I always have a goal to work towards. I feel accomplished and proud of myself. I feel like I have learned countless life lessons that have made me a better friend, a better wife, a better daughter, a better person. And I want to give back and help you do the same thing. I'm telling you, running can change your life. If you're ready to jump in and sign up for a race, whether it's 3 miles or 100 miles, I would be honored to help you cross the finish line. If you'd like to learn more or get in contact with me, find me on Instagram at the Pine Tree Runner or contact me through my website, melodybateman.biz. Links are in the show notes. You have so much potential and you are way stronger than you know. Let's find your strength because it's there just waiting to be tapped into.